Many years ago now, I lived in Florida with my then fiancée, Claire. She was my high school sweetheart and the love of my life. A small, petite little thing who couldn't scare a mouse even if she wanted to. Not that she would. She's got a heart of gold. Money was tight for us back then, and I worked night shifts at a gas station to help ease our financial woes. It goes without saying that I hated the hours, but it paid decently. And at a time when I'd have sold my left nut to eat a nice meal at a restaurant, rather than have another microwave meal, who was I to complain? It was while working there that I met Angela, a customer who I became friendly with over the course of a couple of weeks. She was a decently attractive girl, a few years my senior and a bit overweight, but she appeared to be a normal, funny person. That's the thing with people who plan on screwing up your life. They don't come to you as a mindless crazy. Those people you know not to interact with. But because of how ordinary Angela appeared to be, I started chatting with her every time she came into the store. In hindsight, it was a little strange that this woman would come to the store every night and spend a good long while just chatting with me. Most times not even buying anything. But the night shifts were dull, and I guess I welcomed the company. She had always come in at those weird hours because of her insomnia. She refused to take sleeping pills or anything like that because she hated the idea of taking drugs. Funny, the more and more she came into the store, the more I started to realize that she probably wasn't taking some other types of drugs that she should be. After a while, cracks started to appear. I don't know whether she felt comfortable enough around me to let out her real self, or she just couldn't contain that level of crazy any longer. It was the way she acted, and the strange things she said. Like how she had bet that my blood smelled really nice, like a perfume. She had dropped these lines into casual conversation. At some point, I must have made it obvious that I wasn't single, because she asked me what my girl's name was. I didn't want to give her her real name, so I just made one up on the spot. Phoebe. I guess I'd been watching Friends that week. It became apparent that Angela was obsessed with me. That's not my ego talking. She literally confessed that she was in love with me and wanted to have my babies. Sorry. I just told you about my fiancé. Her face didn't change, like that wasn't even an issue. So, no can do. How serious can it be? I don't even see an engagement ring, she replied. Well, money's tight. We haven't even set a date for the wedding yet, so... Without hesitation, she blurts out, "I'll give you $200 to fuck me. Double if you get me pregnant. Anything you want if you dump your whore of a fiancé." Shell-shocked, I muttered, "Get out, please." With that, she left the store. She didn't come in the following night, or the night after that. Well, I guess she got the message, I thought to myself. A couple more days pass, and it's a Saturday afternoon. I'd been out by myself walking our dog, Albert, and was on my way back home since my parents were coming over to our place for a late lunch. When I arrive back home, Claire fills me in on something. Apparently, some woman had come to the door and was asking to talk to me. Said that she was one of my co-workers. She also greeted my fiancée as Phoebe. Shit, Angela's found where I live. I explained to Claire who this nutjob was, and that she was obsessed with me. Thankfully, she knew me well enough to know that I wasn't having an affair behind her back. Being the trusting person she was, Claire invited Angela in, telling her I'd be back soon. She followed her inside to wait for me. Thankfully, my parents and a couple of family friends were already there. At one point, whilst waiting for me to get back, Claire went to use the bathroom. When she came back down, Angela had gone. Just walked out without saying a word, according to the others. I hated the fact that Angela knew where I lived, and that she'd been stalking me. I considered calling the police, but stupidly, I decided to think it over instead. The rest of the afternoon was uneventful, and went by far too quickly. My shift was starting soon, and I was dreading the inevitable return of Angela, back with a vengeance. Claire was already in bed when it came time for me to leave. Just as I was getting ready to head out, I noticed Albert was sniffing at one of the small closet doors, scratching at it and whimpering. Great, we've got rats, I assumed. Come on, Albert, let's take a look then. I opened the closet, and there was Angela, crouched down in the small space under the stairs. Her eyes were wild. One of her hands was clasped over her mouth to hush her breathing. In the other, she held a small knife. You bet your ass that I didn't hesitate to call the police now. Thankfully, she dropped the knife pretty much instantly, and didn't put up much resistance, just bad-mouthing my fiancée, calling her an ugly whore, and begging me to give her a shot instead, as if saying all this would make the situation better for her in some way. The cops arrived, and took her away with little trouble, Claire in tears at the whole situation, me shaking due to a mixture of rage, fear, and confusion. Angela admitted to everything. According to her confession, she knew that I was out of the house when she knocked on the door. That was her plan all along. She hadn't come to talk to me. She came to murder my fiancé. She had brought that concealed knife with her to do so. In her mind, with Claire out of the picture, I'd be all hers, and we'd run away together. What she didn't know was that my parents and our family friends were there too. She followed me in her car to make sure I'd be gone long enough, during which time our guests arrived. When she saw them inside, she knew that she'd have to wait. When Claire went to the bathroom, Angela left the room with my parents in. But she didn't walk out the front door as everyone assumed. Instead, she quietly stowed herself away in that small closet, waiting for the others to leave. She knew my shifts like the back of her hand, so when I returned to the house, she figured she'd wait until I went to work. That way the house would be nice and empty, and at that point she'd be able to murder my fiancé. Along with the blade, she had brought a whole bunch of pictures of me, taken without my knowledge. They were of me inside the store, taken from outside, of me in the car, of me just walking around town. This woman had literally been chronicling my everyday life since I met her. Why she brought the photos along with her, I have no idea. It's extremely creepy to think that she was in that house with us the entire day, especially when you consider what she was planning. We moved out of state not long after this, not because we thought Angela might escape and come after us again, but because Claire didn't feel at home in that house anymore, as if it was tainted by Angela's actions. As I said, this all took place many years ago, and I can now happily say that Claire and I did eventually get married. We now have 2 beautiful children, and the whole Angela incident is far behind us. Though I still lay awake at night sometimes, thinking about how everything you hold dear in this world can be taken away from you by some lunatic. It's only pure dumb luck that I noticed Albert's whining, and just before I left as well. What would have happened had I actually left for work doesn't bear thinking about. Before I start, here's a little backstory on me and the town I live in. I'm a 24-year-old girl who, at the time, worked at a local gas station. It's one of those American small-type towns. The ones where you have multiple regulars, and all of the attendees call everyone a pet name. You get your fair share of creepos and drunks. The gas station itself is located on the Strip, a long highway that runs the length of the town. I didn't have a car at the time, so I would frequently walk to and from work. I live right behind the gas station, in a small subdivision full of elderly couples and retired doctors. These events took place on December 31st, 2014, around 11 p.m. I was home alone for the night. My boyfriend at the time, who I lived with, worked nights, so this wasn't anything new to me. His job switched shifts around from month to month. He'd go from working days one month to nights the next. He called to tell me goodnight, and I and my cat, Peanut, were heading off to bed. I checked all of the doors in the house and turned off the lights, freshened up in the bathroom, and then headed towards my bedroom. I always hated the hallway that separated my bedroom from the rest of the house. It's long and dark, and has 3 doors at the very end of it, 2 spare bedrooms and mine. My bed was close to the door, in a small nook that should have been a closet. I was taking pictures and laughing at my cat, when all of a sudden, I get this strange, cold chill run down my arms. I shrugged it off, because it was winter after all, and went back to taking pictures. That's when Peanut stopped playing and started looking intently at the open doorway. I thought maybe she was hearing a mouse or something, or maybe one of the ornaments on the tree had fallen off, and she was just reacting to it. When I went to get her attention again, I heard something. A faint sighing coming from the kitchen. I sat there, quietly on my bed with my cat, who was now climbing on my lap and starting to fluff up. It was maybe 2 minutes of us just sitting there before she started to hiss and growl. I'd never heard or seen her act this way before, and it was really starting to freak me out. And then, from the darkness of the hallway, I heard it. The unmistakable sound of someone breathing loudly and walking slowly as if to try and not make any noise. Whoever it was moving closer towards my door. I leaped up and slammed the door shut and put all of my weight on it as I locked it. I immediately grabbed my cell and dialed 911. When the operator was getting my information, I started screaming. My doorknob was jiggling as if someone was trying to open the door. The operator told me to find something to defend myself with, and to stay on the line and tell him everything that was going on. I could hear someone pressing against my door, and what sounded like someone else walking around the house. I heard stuff moving in the kitchen, like drawers opening and closing, and pots being moved. I was in a state of pure panic at this point. Were they getting a knife? My doorknob started moving again, this time with more force. It moved left to right, and then the door was pushed against its frame to the point where you could see it was starting to bow. The entire time, my cat was hissing and spitting at the door. She had dug her claws into my leg and wouldn't let go of me. Then, everything stopped. I told the operator that I didn't hear anything anymore. He said that the cops were very close to my house now, and that I should be able to hear their sirens. He wasn't wrong. I could. Loud shouting filled my house, and my operator told me that they had given him the all clear, and that I needed to unlock the bedroom door and go to where they were. I held the knife I found under the bed close to me as I walked down the dark hallway. When I got outside, the cops told me that when they pulled up, the front door was open, and so was the back door. They searched the house and the yard for anyone who could be hiding, but didn't find anyone. The thing is, absolutely nothing was stolen. Things were moved and out of place, but nothing was actually taken. This caused my heart to drop. If this was a simple break-in, wouldn't they steal something? The person, or persons, had to walk past our living room full of electronics and an impressive flat-screen TV that we got for Christmas. Gifts from our family were sitting on the kitchen table. All of them had been ignored. But here's what bothers me the most. As I mentioned before, nothing in the house was stolen. Whoever it was came directly to my bedroom door and was adamant about getting in. This happened on a night when my boyfriend was at work. Was it really a random break-in? Or was there something leading up to that day that I didn't notice? Like someone following me home from work or acting strange? I can't help but feel like someone's been keeping an eye on me, working out when I'd be at my most vulnerable. I have a hard time sleeping alone now. The one good thing I can say that came from all of this is now my neighbours look after my house. They leave their porch lights on at night whenever my boyfriend's at work and frequently check up on me. Hey guys, Lazy here, and thank you very much for listening. Stalker Stories, getting back in touch with my roots with this one. Sorry there's only a couple of stories here, but they're both pretty long and I think pretty good as well, so hopefully you enjoyed the video anyway. Special thanks to Anthony Salinas for the thumbnail for this video, and pretty much every other video I've ever done as well. Make sure to check him out in the description below, and hey, while you're down there, why not do some naughty things with that like button too? Ooh la la. Also, I'm holding a fan art competition, if you haven't heard already, and there's a few prizes to give away. You haven't got to be the most skilled artist in the world to join in, so if you want to see what the rules are and everything, go on over to my Facebook or Twitter page. Everything you need to know's there somewhere. I'll also be releasing another video this Friday. Multiple videos in a week. Wow, that's not like me nowadays. But yeah, make sure to keep an eye out for that. Until then, my lazy legion, stay spooky. And remember, the best things happen in the dark.